Hello and welcome back to the 7th video in our series discussing the 10 most common behavioral problems with dogs. My name is Cori and I am the training program coordinator at A Walk in the Park in Maumee, Ohio. We are a full service doggy daycare. In addition to daycare and lodging, we also offer grooming and training services. So if you have any questions regarding training, to this point, we've gone through 7 videos. We have 3 more that we are going to do following this one. So if you have issues that fall outside of these 10 behavioral issues, please give us a call and we can help you with all of your dog's needs. So today's video talks about chasing. Many of the behavioral issues that we've described so far are actually natural and normal dog behaviors. So if you have experienced some of these behaviors and are having a significant amount of trouble with them, it's sometimes can be difficult to recognize that your dog is just behaving the way your dog was intended to. And sometimes we need to take a step back and figure out why exactly your dog's natural behaviors bother us so much, and are they truly a problem or simply just an annoyance because we don't really understand our dogs as well as we think we do. Now, that being said, chasing can be a particularly difficult problem to deal with for a few different reasons, and we're going to work through some of those reasons today. Again, this is a natural behavior for your dog, though in our world where we are sharing it with our canine companions, it can become a very dangerous one. And here's why. Your dog's chasing behavior is a natural instinct, one that we have developed over time through breeding certain breeds, certain types of dogs to have this reflex-like instinct to chase down prey. Obviously, it's derived from a natural predatory behavior where they hunt and chase down prey to feed themselves, but we've also created certain breeds to have an even stronger drive to chase small animals as a form of sport hunting. So if you have one of those types of dogs that is really driven to chase after any little thing that moves, that's a result of our impact on those genetics with those certain breeds. So what does your dog like to chase? Well, some dogs may prefer certain things. Maybe some things in particular kind of drive them wild, and there might be some dogs that will literally chase anything that moves. Okay, so this involves, things that go by them very quickly, like bikes, skateboards, people on rollerblades or that are jogging by, even cars that drive by, and small animals. I've had a variety of clients report that it's strange to them that their dog likes to chase cars, but not kids that ride by on bikes. That's not really something that we can explain away, because we can't we can't know what they're thinking and what kind of sets them off. But this instinct to chase after something is actually called prey drive. And for some dogs, it is higher than others. There are definitely some breeds that really don't have a very strong prey drive at all, mostly because they've never really needed to rely on it as far as the way that they were physically bred, but also combined with the fact that everything kind of always comes to them. So why did they need to chase after it to get to it? So again, this is a natural instinct, hunting instinct, and it is pretty much reflexive. I've never really met a dog that has prey drive or an inclination to chase after something that saw something go by and was like, should I chase that now or should I wait for the next car to go by? They pretty much snap right into a zone where they just take off and go chasing after whatever it is that has caught their attention, regardless of how you feel about it or not, and regardless of whether they're attached to you by a leash or not. I've definitely been pulled over by dogs taking off if I wasn't quite paying attention to what my surroundings were, and then had a dog take off and take me with them. So some things to think about when you're dealing with this particular issue is that it's kind of going to be on you as the dog owner and the person that manages, your dog's experiences and their environment, and things like that, to be a little bit more observant about what's going on around you. Your dog is already incredibly observant, and their senses are more heightened as far as what they can see, hear, and smell. So you are going to need to be a little bit hyper vigilant as far as spotting those things that are going to trigger your dog into chasing them before your dog spots them. That way you can try to head off the behavior in the first place. So being aware of when we walk past this person's house, their cat is always outside, and as soon as we walk by, it darts across the front yard. Being aware that at that particular house, this is about to happen. And either taking an alternate route or crossing the street so you're not walking by so closely to where that cat might be. Just as a couple of examples about managing this problem in particular. Always have your dog on a leash. Most especially when you're in an area that is not fenced in or has any kind of barrier so that your dog cannot run away from you or run into traffic or something like that. And that's another reason why this behavior is particularly dangerous. Is not only can it be dangerous for your dog as far as chasing something into the street and ultimately getting seriously injured or killed, but also for those people or those other animals that your dog is chasing. Because once they catch up to that person or other animal, at what point, what is your dog going to do at that point? Are they going to nip, bite, grab and shake, something like that? And pretty much, I can't really think of any scenario where this is going to end well for either that other person, other animal, or your dog. So keeping this in mind and really learning how to manage this behavior and then try to work towards a training process in eliminating this behavior is a little bit tricky and really is very important. So, your first management step is going to be having your dog on a leash. Even if you do have a fenced-in yard, it's not necessarily a bad idea in the beginning to go ahead and keep your dog on a leash when you're working on, training this out or training this away. But one thing to keep in mind is that since it is a natural behavior, and for some dogs, it is a very strong drive to react and perform this behavior, you're likely never going to completely train your dog to never chase anything. That would be an extremely high expectation. So as a dog owner and as an amateur trainer, you are going to have to bring those expectations down quite a bit and work within your dog's abilities. Your dog may not have the ability to stop and think through what they're doing when something darts by and that instinct and reflex kicks in. No more than you would be able to keep yourself from yelling out if I kicked you in the knee really hard. You automatically are going to say, ow! And that's a reflex, not something you can stop from happening, or, taking your hand up to shield your eyes when, the sun starts to, peeks out from behind a cloud and shines right in your eye. I mean, it's kind of an automatic response. And it would be incredibly difficult for me to train you to not do that when you needed to. So this is about being realistic with your expectations and knowing what your dog's abilities are with this process. So keep your dog on a leash. What you're going to not do, and this is the first thing that I tell you in every single one of these videos, as far as how you are going to respond to your dog in that moment, you're going to have to do your absolute best to not yell or scold your dog in any way. First, it's going to make you look like a crazy person if you are walking your dog and your dog starts to chase after something and you're screaming your brains out at your dog. Your dog more than likely isn't hearing you at all anyway. They are kicked into that instinct. They're in the zone. They are 100% focused on what's going on directly in front of them, and you're unfortunately behind them because they have just outrun you by far. So, do your best to stay calm and do your best to regain control of the situation while also trying to stay calm. in this kind of situation, it is, again, we've talked about this being one of kind of our natural instincts as people to then, you know, take back some control of that situation and make sure that the other party understands that we're frustrated with that situation. So perhaps your dog, you know, runs off chasing after a squirrel, runs up a tree. We're calling and calling the dog, and we're trying to regain attention and trying to regain control of the situation. The dog is not responding. The dog is not returning. We get more and more frustrated, and we're worried that they're going to run into the street. We're worried that they're going to completely run away. We're not going to get them back. We have all of these things that are now building up our level of anxiety. Now, perhaps that squirrel runs up that tree and disappears from sight. Your dog loses interest and then returns to you. Our natural kind of response, the first thing we tend to do is to scold them because it's an outlet for our anxiety. And we say, you know, bad boy, you can't run away, or, you know, whatever else. We scrunch up our faces and we get frustrated and we use an angry tone of voice. And you know, your dog can see that. Your dog can read that because they're experts at reading body language and facial expressions. So they become nervous. They're not really sure what just happened because, you know, they just did something that they would normally naturally do, and it might have even been fun. And so, you know, why not do it? And then they come back to you because, you know what? Oh, I heard you call this time. Here I come. They may not have heard you those previous times. And so now they return to you and you're angry about that. And that's confusing. So how is your dog to know what is expected of them, you know, when they do the things that you've asked them to do? You just asked them to come, they came, and then they got in trouble. That doesn't make any sense. So why would I come to you the next time? That's called poisoning a cue, and it happens very frequently with that recall behavior in particular. We don't even necessarily have to punish that return with a scolding, but sometimes by not reinforcing it at all, giving it attention when your dog comes back to you, they're going to be less likely to want to perform that. So don't yell or punish your dog. It really doesn't do you any good, just harms your relationship with your dog. Do keep your dog on a leash, like we mentioned before. You're going to work on boosting that recall and that relationship. We've discussed this before in our video on digging. When our dog is performing a behavior that they highly enjoy, especially if it's a natural one, like digging, like chasing, the best thing that we can do is really build up your relationship with your dog. And this is something that you're going to do as far as training for the moment and not in the moment. So in the moment, you've kind of already may have experienced that trying to recall your dog in the moment doesn't work well. So now we have to try to boost that behavior by training for the moment. So doing it outside of those times where we're going to need to rely on it and use it. So when you're just hanging out in your backyard, practice that recall training. Get your dog to want to come to you and give your dog a reason to want to come to you. Make yourself more valuable than whatever else is going on in your dog's environment. Does that mean that your dog isn't going to quickly, you know, try to take off as soon as they see something chase by? Possibly not. But if you have been practicing this recall to the point where it becomes very similar to a reflex, your dog is going to have a hard time ignoring that recall reflex in order to perform the chase reflex. So you might give yourself a little bit of a leg up, and hopefully maybe your dog doesn't go very far if it decides to chase after something, or you very quickly are able to regain your dog's attention with that, with calling its name and giving it that recall, and getting really excited when your dog does place his attention back on you, because ultimately that's what you want, that's what you've trained. So let your dog know that they've done that fantastically. That's the best way to make sure that recall stays nice and strong, is that we are always reinforcing that very, very strongly, very heavily. You're also going to do what you can to redirect your dog's attention. So you could, you know, take some of your dog's favorite treats with you when you go out for walks, or in, you know, especially if you're going to be in areas where you know your dog is likely to want to chase after something. You know, high volume of bikers, joggers, rollerbladers, other dogs at a park on a beautiful day. If you know that that is something that may occur, one, you could avoid those high traffic times to begin with. But if you do end up heading out, go ahead and take some of your dog's favorite treats with you. You can shake that bag so that they, snap around and look at you when they hear that noise. A squeaky toy, something that they really, if they really like their toys, if they have a favorite toy, you can take that with you and kind of redirect them with that. Say you are walking down that path and you see in the distance somebody's on a bike coming towards you. Go ahead and pull out that toy ahead of time and start playing with your dog before that bike even gets to you, before your dog notices that that bike is coming, and keep your dog's attention off of that thing that's going to trigger them to chase, and play your way past that distraction. Now your dog may still notice the bike go by, but man, this game of tug or trying to get that toy that you're playing keep away with may be more fun and captivating than whatever is happening on the path next to you. So keep something like that in mind. Another method that you can kind of look up or contact me if you want more information about it is called engage disengage. It's a two process training protocol where you are rewarding your dog for noticing the things that trigger them, whether it's chasing or barking or whatever it happens to be. As soon as your dog looks at the thing that normally triggers them, you're going to quickly reward them for looking, as long as they haven't engaged in that inappropriate behavior. And then you do that so long, a lot of times you'll notice that your dog is automatically disengages from that thing. So if they look and they notice that every time, or they start to associate that every time they look at the thing that triggers them, and then they get rewarded for doing that, a lot of times they will engage that trigger by looking at it and then disengage from it to look at you to receive that treat. Okay, so that's another kind of reflex that you can build up through engage, disengage. Sometimes you'll see it called LAD training, which is look and dismiss. Same concept though. So if you want to give that a little bit of an exploration, that is something that might help you to teach your dog that, hey, I know that thing is there, but it's not valuable to you because this is what is valuable to you. So if you have any questions about this chasing behavior, what you can do to manage it, it's a little bit more difficult to deal with than some of our other behaviors like begging and jumping up, where it's a little bit more black and white, cut and dried. This one can be a little bit more challenging for dog owners that may not necessarily understand their dog very well or understand the training process very well. So if you have questions about that, or if you have questions about the engage, disengage, or LAD training, you can always contact us at our facility at 419-475-4101. You can reach out to me directly at 419-930-6229, or you can email me at training@awitp.net. Join us next time for our 8th video. It'll be interesting to see what that topic will be. So we'll see you guys shortly. Have a great day. Bye-bye.